Genghis Khan believed it was his destiny to conquer the world. At its height, the Mongolian Empire was the largest land empire in history, spanning a continuous territory from Siberia to Persia, from China to Eastern Europe, covering land that today includes 30 countries. Remarkably, the Mongol army never numbered more than 100,000 warriors, small enough to fill a football stadium, and the man behind it all, Genghis Khan, was illiterate. Genghis was born as Temujin in 1162 on the vast Mongolian steppe, an open grassland where oral tradition dominated. He endured a tough childhood. His father, Yesegai, a tribal leader, kidnapped his mother Holun and forced her into marriage. When Genghis was around 9, Yesegai was poisoned by a rival tribe, the Tatars. After his father's death, the Tayuchud clan, with whom his father had allied, abandoned Genghis, his mother, and his 4 siblings, viewing them as a burden. They were left to fend for themselves in the harsh winter. But they survived thanks to Holun's resilience. She hunted and gathered anything she could to keep her children alive, like edible plants. Food was so scarce that when Genghis's older half-brother begged her snatched away his food, Genghis, with his younger brother Khazar, killed him with arrows. Later, the Tayuchud clan kidnapped Genghis, likely fearing his potential, and strapped him to a kang similar to this one, but he managed to escape. A kind local villager hid him in his tent at great personal risk before giving him a horse to flee. Eventually, Genghis rode to Borta, the girl his father had arranged for him to marry. When they wed, Borta brought a black sable coat as her dowry, which Genghis gifted to Ong Khan, an influential leader and old friend of his father. This gesture of alliance became crucial when Borta was kidnapped by the Merkit tribe, who sought revenge for Holun's earlier kidnapping by Genghis's father. This marked a turning point in Genghis's life. As Jack Weatherford writes in Genghis Khan in the Making of the Modern World, now he had to think carefully and devise a plan of action that would influence the whole of his life. He had to choose his own destiny. Genghis chose to fight for Borta, enlisting the help of Ong Khan's warriors and his best friend Jamukha, a rising leader of the Jadaran clan. Together, they rescued Borta, who had been forced to be the wife of a Merkit warrior. Shortly after, she gave birth to their first son, Jochi, meaning guest, a name that hinted at Genghis's doubts about the boy's paternity. Though Genghis and Jamukha initially bonded as blood brothers, Jamukha grew uneasy with Genghis's rise, leading to a split that made them bitter enemies. In 1189, at age 27, Genghis aspired to unite the Mongol tribes under his leadership as Khan, or ruler, reassuring Ong Khan that he simply sought to unite the various clans under his authority. In 1196, he joined Ong Khan to defeat the wealthy Tatars who had poisoned his father. A year later, he defeated the Jurchen clan who had betrayed him by breaking a promise to support him in battle. Genghis executed their leaders to demonstrate the importance of loyalty. Loyalty meant everything to Genghis. In a battle against Jamukha and the Tayuchud clan, Genghis was wounded in the neck by an arrow. His loyal companion Gelme cleansed the wound by sucking out the blood, ensuring his survival and victory. In a second campaign against the Tatars, Genghis ordered all Tatar males taller than the linchpin of a cart's wheels to be executed, exacting ruthless revenge and to neutralize a future threat. He strengthened his control by marrying 2 Tatar women, using marriage as a strategic tool throughout his life. A 2003 study found that approximately 16 million men are likely descendants of Genghis Khan. As Genghis gained power, Ong Khan began to see him as a threat, rejecting a marriage proposal between Genghis's son Jochi and his own daughter, which would have signaled Genghis's likely succession. Ong Khan invited him to a fake wedding celebration intending to kill him, but Genghis realized it was a trap just in time and fled with a group of men he had brought. They retreated by the waters of Baljuna, somewhere in southeastern Mongolia. Starving, they boiled the flesh from a wild horse that had appeared, taking it as a supernatural sign. This seemed like Genghis's lowest point, where the empire he had painstakingly built began to crumble. But Genghis didn't give up. Instead, he raised a toast to his men's loyalty. Jack Weatherford describes the moment in his book. He thanks his men for their loyalty and swore never to forget it. The men shared in drinking the muddy waters and swore eternal allegiance to him. News of Genghis's resolve spread to his followers, and his warriors quickly regrouped to prepare for a counterattack, overwhelming Ong Khan's forces. Ong Khan fled, but was killed by a guard from the Naimon tribe who had failed to recognize him. The Naimon, allied with Jamukha, were among the last to resist Genghis. Though they outnumbered him, Genghis used psychological tactics to even the odds. He ordered each man to light 5 campfires to create the illusion of a larger army. He avoided direct combat, sending squads of 10 men to attack from all directions pre-dawn before quickly retreating to confuse the enemy. In another maneuver, his warriors fired arrows in waves, with each line retreating to the rear to reload, creating a relentless barrage that kept the enemy under pressure. On the verge of victory, Jamukha's men betrayed him, kidnapping him in the hopes of leniency, but Genghis executed them for their disloyalty. Though Genghis offered to unite with Jamukha, Jamukha requested death instead, leaving Genghis with no more rivals. From that point forward, he adopted the name Genghis Khan, known in the West through the Persian spelling Genghis Khan, often interpreted as meaning supreme ruler or universal ruler. With Mongolia unified, Genghis set his sights on the wealthy Jin Dynasty in northern China. When the Jin Emperor demanded Genghis's allegiance, Genghis reportedly spat on the ground in defiance. In 1211, Genghis's warriors invaded Jin territory despite being outnumbered nearly 2-1. Once again, their strength lay not in numbers but in strategy. Each unit of 10,000 Mongol warriors was self-sufficient with its own supplies and command structure. Instead of killing local peasants, the Mongols forced them to gather food and water and sometimes even use them as human shields. The Mongols' diet of fresh or dried meat gave them an advantage, as they could last longer on less food compared to their grain-dependent Jurchen opponents. Genghis instilled resilience in his warriors, forbidding talk of death, keeping them focused solely on victory. Though his warriors couldn't easily break through the massive city walls, he used tactics like feigned retreats, where his men pretended to flee, luring enemy soldiers out of their fortified positions. Once the gates were open, the Mongols suddenly turned back, racing through the gates to storm the cities. Genghis didn't live to conquer all of China. That achievement would be completed by his successors. He turned his attention westward towards Central Asia and the Silk Road, the vital trade network linking East Asia with Persia and beyond. The turning point came in 1219 when the governor of a city in the Khwarezmian Empire looted a Mongol caravan and executed the merchants. Then, the Sultan mutilated Mongol ambassadors who had been sent to negotiate peace. At almost 60 years old, Genghis declared war on the Khwarezmian Empire. The massive stone walls of the prosperous city of Bukhara posed a formidable obstacle. But Genghis's corps of engineers constructed siege weapons on site, including battering rams and massive trebuchets, forcing the city to surrender. Jack Weatherford writes, "In a flash, only 30 years, the Mongol warriors would defeat every army, capture every fort, and bring down the walls of every city they encountered. Christians, Muslims, Buddhists, and Hindus would soon kneel before the dusty boots of illiterate young Mongol horsemen." Genghis decreed complete religious freedom throughout his empire and adopted the Uyghur alphabet to write the Mongolian language, establishing the first system of written communication for his people. Genghis brought his 4 sons on the Central Asian campaign, hoping to prepare them as leaders. He instilled in them his divide and rule strategy, advising that conquered people should never be permitted to unite to prevent uprisings. But his sons struggled to cooperate. His second eldest, Chagatai, openly opposed his older brother Jochi as Genghis's successor, even calling him a bastard son due to doubts about his paternity. Fearing that his 2 eldest sons might go to war over succession, Genghis removed them both from the line, choosing his 3rd son, Ogadai, as his successor. Rumors later spread that Jochi was assassinated, possibly on Genghis's orders, due to his failure to join certain military campaigns. Nearing the end of his life, Genghis turned his focus to the Xia kingdom, one of his earliest adversaries. In 1226, as he prepared to launch a final campaign, he was thrown from his horse while hunting and never fully recovered. His health deteriorated, and a few months later, on August 18, 1227, Genghis Khan died. The British historian Edward Gibbon described his passing this way: "He died in the fullness of years in glory, with his last breath exhorting and instructing his sons to achieve the conquest of the Chinese Empire." Genghis's son Ogadai defeated the Jin Dynasty in 1234. For a time, the empire flourished, even advancing deep into Eastern Europe. However, Ogadai's sudden death from over-drinking in 1241 halted the campaign, and succession disputes delayed further conquests. Decades later, Genghis' son Kublai Khan achieved what his grandfather had begun, fully conquering China by defeating the Song Dynasty in 1279 and uniting the country under Mongol rule by establishing the Jin Dynasty. However, by the time of Kublai Khan's death in 1294, the empire had fractured into 4 major regions, each led by different descendants of Genghis. Over time, this division gradually led to the decline of the Mongol Empire. In a letter to a Taoist monk that a Chinese scribe transcribed, Genghis reflected humbly on his life. "I have not myself distinguished qualities." He saw himself as a servant of the eternal blue sky, the supreme force in Mongol spirituality. He believed this higher power had condemned surrounding civilizations for their haughtiness and extravagant luxury, and he had simply carried out its will. Genghis's death remains shrouded in mystery. The exact cause and circumstances are unknown. He is believed to have died in northwestern China, and his body was taken back to Mongolia, where he was buried in secret. His burial site has never been found, and the area where he is believed to lie has remained off-limits for nearly 8 centuries. In the days of Genghis Khan, protecting territory and resources was a relentless pursuit. A single weak point could make an empire vulnerable. Today, our digital lives face similar challenges, where a single weak password can tear down entire companies. That's where NordPass comes in. As a password manager built by the creators of NordVPN, the world's most popular VPN, it's designed to safeguard you and your business's digital kingdom. NordPass securely stores your employees' passwords, credit card details, and other sensitive information. Teams can securely and quickly share login credentials, streamlining workflow and enhancing productivity. Having used NordPass myself with my small team, I can tell you the design is intuitive and the experience is incredibly smooth. It also monitors for breaches, flagging any information found on the dark web. In today's world, a business password manager should be a no-brainer for all companies, big and small, that want to stay secure. You can get started with a free 3-month NordPass business trial by using the code Newsthink at nordpass.com/newsthink. No credit card required. That's nordpass.com/newsthink. The link is in the description. Try it out and feel the peace of mind that comes with knowing that your information is protected. Thanks for watching. For Newsthink, I'm Cindy Pom.